Hey everyone, Dr. Jess here. So happy that you're joining us today. Thank you so much for making the time to learn a little bit more about common accommodations and how to accommodate your students to give them access for your students with disability related needs who are in college. I mean, this is already amazing, right? So, this video is about the idea of being accommodating versus providing accommodations, right? So these two are different and they kind of rise to different levels, right? And so I wanted to talk to them a little bit because it's such a different idea. And really, as faculty, which I'm faculty, I teach in the classroom, I'm a full-time lecturer. This is my job. This is what I actually do. Okay. Um, I'm accommodating to everyone, right? Whatever people have going on in their lives, whether it's disability related or not, I want to do my best because I care about my students, just like you care about your students, to be accommodating, right? That's just the nature of the job, right? Sometimes people in our classrooms, they don't have someone nice at home who wants to be nice back to them. And so it's really important that we're that person, right? So it might be, I sprained my ankle, or it might be, my mom and dad are mean to me, or it might be like I experienced something traumatizing, or I'm just really broke all the time, right? And any of those and more are things that we want to be accommodating for, right? Loss experienced in the family, like you name it, right? Oh, something, really threw you off your game in some kind of way. Let me please be accommodating for you, right? Okay. Now our paper has an extra week to edit before we all hand it in, right? As an example. Or, oh, we're all gonna read some of this assignment in class and discuss it instead of, calling people out for not having read while a major life event is happening for them, right? Accommodations kind of go beyond that. And that's the beauty of the accommodations, right? So student hasn't handed in any work at the end of the semester. By approaching the end of the semester, because they're doing disability related management of a new diagnosis that they're learning about with themselves. Accommodating doesn't really get us there, right? I mean, the work's not in. It's like starting to get really messy. Their grade and the grade book is not looking good. But accommodations can take into account that student's actual picture in a way that then follows them to the next professor as well, right? So, I'm using a story like I've had students who get accommodated while in my classes for these reasons, right? So maybe people have been accommodating to them, but maybe that need has risen above that level and they've never actually gone and gotten their accommodations. So we really here at SSD at Cal State San Bernardino, we really want people to go get their accommodations because, and maybe it's not that example. Maybe it's someone who just started chemotherapy, right? Maybe it's someone with a major flare up of a mental health condition. Um, every time we're accommodating, which is really sweet and really nice, it sometimes then means that student still isn't getting their accommodations that they might really need to, right? So we can do both. There's nothing saying don't be accommodating. Like, you should teach exactly how your wonderful self teaches. But if you're having a student with a disability related need, like please send them to us so that we can also get them accommodations, right? If they have to miss every other week for dialysis, we want to get them an accommodation for attendance modification because that's their right, right? Their dialysis is creating a barrier for them to be in class. And so we can work with them and work with you as their faculty to address that barrier to provide that seat at the table for student time and time again. So that's something that we really, really want for the student is for them to get registered with us. It's always their right not to, but it's also our right as faculty to to know when we might be going outside the realm of accommodating, right? And that the student may really need accommodations. And so, you know, it's just a great practice to begin to develop those ways to refer students to SSD. But it's also a great and here's an example for language, right? I would love to do that for you. Unfortunately, that requires an accommodation. You can get your disability related accommodations at SSD. Would you like me to walk you over there? Would you like me to co-write a referral email with you? Would you like me to sit with you while you do the application online? I can do any of those. I definitely recommend it because it's going to not only help you in my class, it's going to help you for all of your classes. And then once they tell me that's what you need, I can go ahead and do that right away. And I really want to do it. So if you could go through like a pretty quick, painless process with them, so that I can do that, I would really appreciate it. And I also believe that it's going to be helpful for you. So that's an example, okay? But accommodating is just like common practice. Accommodations might rise beyond common practice sometimes, right? So if a student has attendance modifications, how much they're in class might be different than how much another student's in class. But if they're actively, giving birth and recovering from surgery, their situation is different than the other students in class. And so if someone's situation is different, it's not about comparing them to the other students. It's about that student's unique needs related to their disability, whether temporary or permanent, and how to still give them a seat at the table. Okay. If a student in your class is blind, they're probably going to need some kind of e-text. And maybe all the other students need to read in hard copy for whatever reason in your class. You could ask them that. But the one student's blind, so them needing that accommodation, um, and this is a good example too, right? Because like vision needs, they go way beyond what we can do as a faculty member sometimes, to be accommodating, right? Sometimes a book gets converted into Braille, right? That takes time and money, that we would never have as faculty, right? But if that's what the student needs, the student's going to get it. Um, but it lives outside the realm of accommodating, right? At SSD, sometimes we cut a book binding off and we scan all the pages and make it a PDF for the student and then rebind the book, right? That's a lot and that requires equipment and faculty don't have that equipment. But our accommodations office does, right? Because the student needs access. So the access is in that realm of accommodations, right? Just being the kind, nice person that we are is in the realm of accommodating. And really, they all live in a happy ecosystem together, but it's nice to be able to differentiate between the two because our students get their accommodations from us, no matter how much we're being accommodating. SSD is the place that provides that accommodation notice, about what the accommodations are through a process that really is way outside of what we even have time to do individually for our students. So I love when SSD accommodates my students. SSD is our accommodations office for folks watching outside of the institution. I love when I get an accommodation notice because it helps me so much to have that clarity about what I can do to be the best professor for that student, right? And I love sharing feedback back with SSD about anything I'm noticing that they might not know yet, right? Because we might see it first in our classroom. So lots of good things to think about, lots more videos to come, but I really appreciate you taking a moment to talk with me about accommodations versus accommodating. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you have any questions, by the way, my email is jessica.nerren@csusb.edu, and I would be thrilled to talk to you anytime. All right, have a good day. Bye.